Hi, I'm Denny Dillon, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Damien and Ann.
Well, hootenanny. Hello, Damien. How you doing?
Hi, Ann. Hi, listeners. Welcome to another episode of You Might Know Her From.
With Damien and Ann.
It is me, Damien, your own personal troll on a roll.
And it's me, of course, Ann. I'm in long johns, and if I were to call myself something, I would be... I'd be Ann on a can. I'd be Ann on the can. I'd be Ann on the can. I feel like my long johns, they sadly don't have that trap door. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because like in my head, I'm goofy in long johns that have the trap door in a bathroom.
You mean Ann like on the toilet. I'm picturing when you used to send me like a picture of you on the toilet at your old job, right? And you'd be like, I just ate mac and cheese in the...
Those were dark days. Why did I eat mac and cheese in the bathroom? Why did I do that? There was a reason. Oh my God. I know why.
I'm sorry.
Look, I'm not justifying the behavior. But I will say I forgot that I did that.
At first I was like, it was a bit
I was sending you
emoji.
multiple toilet pictures as if I was eating mac and cheese every day in my office, in the bathroom. No, there was a time my boss, I had a tiny office where it was just me and my crazy boss, and he worked like 3 feet behind me and could see my computer screen at all times. So then I would have to eat my lunch in there, and sometimes it was very uncomfortable, and he would be on the phone and I would have to take phone calls, and there was nowhere for me to go. And so I would heat up my food in the pantry, and then I would go to the bathroom and eat it on the toilet with my pants on and the seat down. It was a sad job. I was at it for 6.5 years. But I'm out now, and here I am with you, thank God. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Sorry, I was having trouble remembering if it was like a Bitmoji of you on the toilet. Like you talk about your period constantly to me. Like I get
no. It was for sure.
But then I was like,
that was like of my crotch. It was like a picture of me.
Yeah. Of course not. I mean, I'm sorry if anyone thought that. It was definitely not that. We're not those kinds of friends.
No.
Speaking of your period, though, I will tell you, I just saw my friend Kathy. I hope she doesn't mind me disclosing this, but I thought of you.
We love Kathy. Kathy's a friend and a friend of the show.
Yeah, and she told me that when she got her period for the first time, she cried. And I said, oh, were you so young? And she said, no, not really. I just was like, I'm always going to have this now for every month moving forward for the rest of my life. And I thought of you. I thought of, oh, yeah, that's like really...
Look at this. I've been starting to gauge my life in terms of how many periods I'm going to have left, because now I'm approaching, am I 37? I turned 37 this year. So I might have 3 years left. That's 36 months left of periods. And, sometimes I get my period twice a month. So we could be at 72. Technically, probably.
You think you're going to stop having your period at 40?
Yeah, I think so.
This is based on some other work you've been doing.
Yeah, my mom had like menopause for like 5 years. She went through menopause for like 5 years. It was awful. Can I tell you, did you see this? That Pantone released a new color and it's called Period Red.
I love it. I did see it. I saw it from your Twitter feed.
Thank you. I'm here to drop the knowledge. It truly doesn't look like period blood if you're a person who has a period. Just look at Pantone and tell me what you think of their period blood color. I think they could have done better. Obviously, there are multiple tones that come throughout the week. There's different colors of red.
Yeah, for different flows.
Yeah, and also depending on if it's like the first day, the third day, the fifth day, it depends. So anyway, look at Pantone. I'm very excited. I feel like they're contributing to my movement of period positivity. But I'm just counting down the days at this point. So Kathy's younger than me, so she's still got more time than I do to bleed. But, it does end eventually.
Also, the Prom premiered this past weekend, and I know you haven't watched it yet, but I wanted to tell you that my mom called me last night after she had seen it, and she was like, thanks so much for recommending it to me. It was just what I needed. And then she was like, I love Glenn Close. And I said, Mom! That is not Glenn Close. That's Meryl Streep. And she said, oh, yeah. Well, I love her, too. And I said, oh, boy.
I feel like Patty thought she was playing to the room. She thought she knew what she was saying.
She did. She thought she was playing to me. And then she was like, whoops. Whoops, there it is.
I haven't seen it yet. I had to make a decision between what I wanted to watch this weekend, and was it The Prom or was it the HBO Max movie Let Them All Talk, directed by Steven Soderbergh, starring also Meryl Streep, Diane Wiest, and Candy Bergen. So I watched Let Them All Talk. I'll probably watch The Prom tonight and report back. But
maybe we can talk about, if anyone wants to watch Let Them All Talk, maybe we could watch that and do some sort of mini episode about it.
Yeah, let us know if you're interested in a Let Them All Talk mini-sode. I will just say here, I have a lot to say about it. It isn't what I expected it was.
Same.
Folks, I know you know this refrain, but we really are looking at you to leave us some reviews on the Apple Podcast app. That is the thing that you can do for us this holiday season that will help us the most. It boosts us up the algorithm and puts us in people's eyeballs. It will suggest us to them on their screen. Also, if you're seeing anyone in person, be safe. Please wear a mask. But if you're outside, grab their phone, put us in their phone. Whoever it is, I don't know if people are sitting on Santa Claus's lap this year. It seems like a terrible idea, but if he has a cell phone, please just, put him on our case.
We don't want to do the most when asking for reviews, but it really is truly the best thing you can do. And God help us, we want to quit our fucking day job. So please give us a little review, write us a few words, an emoji will do. Thank you so much.
Also, we are not going to be here the next 2 Thursdays. That's the 24th of December and the 31st of December. Those would be our usual Thursday release dates. But if you are subscribed, you might get a little gift dropped into your phone sometime before the new year. But just wanted to let you know we will be back regularly on Thursdays in 2021. Don't you fret. But we won't be here on the 24th or the 31st.
But we might have to drop that special little, let's let them all talk bullshit, little tidbit. So keep us locked in. So let me tell y'all while I'm talking about this week's guest. What a joy. I mean, this person to us is truly iconic. Former Saturday Night Live alum, very storied, extensive theater career, musical theater career, worked with legends, and a lesbian. Oh my God.
Can I tell you, when we started courting this person almost 2 years ago, we did not know that she was a lesbian.
She actually came out publicly while we were pursuing her. So, oh my God, it was like, we were like, oh my goodbody, we better get
Let's edit these notes. We've got to ask a lot of questions about lesbians.
Yes. So it was just really a joy to talk to the great Denny Dillon. And when we finally got her on the line, it was so funny because we had pursued her before and tried to figure out going to her place or her coming to one of our places. And when we got on the Zoom, she was like, well, you both surely are persistent, which I love. I wear it as a badge of honor. I feel like it's why I should put it on my Tinder profile. Like, I am, if nothing, I am persistent about what I want. And we wanted Denny Dillon. So we are really excited to share this interview with you. What an amazing and cool career she has had. And then lives her life now in the Hudson Valley as doing visual art, teaching improv, teaching acting at college with her beautiful, wonderful, very helpful wife, Barbara.
Also very exciting, she's actually in the new Halle Berry movie. Halle Berry landed a $20 million deal with Netflix, and she is directing this movie. Is that right?
Yeah. She's a director and the star.
Halle Berry is directing this MMA movie, which is fighting, like a fighting
Mixed
movie.
Martial what? What is the E? Did you mean MMA?
Maybe it's MMA.
It's MMA.
I don't know what MMA is. Okay, let's
MMA.
Is it
Or
MMA?
Mixed Martial Arts. No, we're not doing a pickup. We're keeping that.
Okay, great. We're keeping it in. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Damien. The point is, Denny is in it, and her character's name is...
Crazy Esther.
Come on. She said Halle Berry was wonderful. I can't wait to see this movie. What are her scenes? What is her deal with Halle Berry? Who does she get to take down? Is she a manager? I'm imagining that maybe she's like Burgess Meredith in Rocky, hyping up one of the female fighters. This is what I'm hoping for. I don't know what we're going to get. This was a literal treasure trove. We hope you enjoy. You might know her from Saturday Night Live,
Saturday Night Fever,
My One and Only,
Gypsy,
Garbo Talks,
Dream On,
and Roseanne, an Unauthorized Biography. We are here, finally. We've been courting her for years with actor, singer, comedian, and artist Denny Dillon. Denny, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Anne. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy you're so persistent. even through COVID.
Look, we were hoping to come to your house, or do you come to us, but this is okay. It is what it is at this point.
Yes.
Okay, so Denny, we knew you as an actor and a comedian for many years, but we were so tickled to learn about your extensive theater credits. It seems like you grew up in an artistic family. We read that your mom was an actress, and you, of course, started in the cabaret scene in New York. Can you tell us, was Broadway always the goal?
I was very fortunate, Anne and Damien. I was 6 weeks in New York, and I got in a Broadway show. So I was very lucky. Many people said you didn't pay your dues. And I said my childhood was my dues. So, but I went to a big open call for Gypsy starring Angela Lansbury. So that was my first start in New York, where I always wanted to be.
So, Denny, you made your Broadway debut as Agnes/Amanda in the 1974 production of Gypsy, starring Angela Lansbury, directed by Arthur Laurents, who also, of course, wrote the libretto. Your character was one of the Hollywood blondes who gets a great moment with both Rose and Tessitura, who was played by one of our favorites, Mary Louise Wilson, at the end of the show.
Who is still my pal, Mary Louise Wilson, and she lives up here in the Hudson Valley. We've been friends now since 74.
Oh my
Actually,
God.
the rehearsal started in 73, so since then.
So can you talk a little bit about the rehearsal process and that run?
Yes, I can. It was pretty glorious. The rehearsal process was kind of wonderful with the whole full cast, and Arthur was there all the time, and Sondheim came often, and Julie Stein. It was pretty miraculous. I mean, it was like really like starting on a cloud, in heaven. And I loved working with Angela, who I'm still in, correspondence with.
So can you say, I was excited to learn that the production toured the provinces, as Carol Channing would say, before you guys came to Broadway. How was it being on the road with Angela? Was she part of the company? Was she a gracious star? Did she give opening night gifts? What was the vibe?
She was one of the most gracious stars I've ever worked with ever. I was spoiled working with a woman of her class and stature who was also very funny and accessible. Yes, she always gave us opening night gifts. She would remember the color of your eyes and buy you a sweater that matched your eyes. I personally, being on the road was hard. We were 6 months on the road, but it's I guess it's probably like being in the Marines. But traveling with children and a monkey and lamb and 6 stage mothers. But we went to it was a national tour. So we'd go somewhere like LA for 2 months. We went to the Royal Alex in Toronto. But everywhere we went, we were there for a long period of time and stayed in classy hotels. So it was all first rate, but difficult traveling. I mean, I learned, I didn't know because I was just starting out my career, that being on the road is not easy. Some people love it. Love it. I think I'm a little more of a nester. But when I'd go into the hotels, I'd put little toys and little cards all over the mirror to make it instantly my home in 5 minutes.
Denny, we, of course, are huge fans of Arthur Laurents, who wrote the book for both West Side Story and Gypsy, but he was sort of known as a tyrant as a director. We interviewed Nancy Opel on the show, and she starred in the Patti LuPone revival of Gypsy, and which he also directed, and she sort of confirmed so much. What was your experience working with him? Did you find that he was a force to be reckoned with, or was he generous?
Arthur Laurents was so wonderful to me. I can't even begin to tell you. One of the notes that he gave me, remember, I was a kid. I just gotten out of college, and I had this wonderful scene with Angela where I came in and said, "Here are the letters, Madam Rose." And I was doing all this stuff besides saying the letters. And he said, "I want you to pick a few things that you're thinking of and do, because I don't want you to steal the scene from yourself." And I thought that was a magnificent direction, because in musicals, you distill everything down to a few brilliant gestures, like Mary Louise Wilson did as the stripper. This is Miss Mazeppa, and she would put her hand out and down, and the whole theater would roar in the simplicity of the gesture.
Yeah.
So that's what he was telling me. And then when we were on the road for a while and he hadn't been there, he got on somebody's case, one of the other chorus girls, she'll remain nameless, and he said, "Stop stealing what Denny's doing." And I was like, oh my God, because I couldn't, she was doing the things I was doing a minute before I did them. One of your horror stories. And then years later, I met Arthur. I was doing a play at David Saint's Theater he's not running it any longer, but the George Street Playhouse. Mm-hmm. And Arthur came and saw the play and was telling me, how funny I was in it. And he just told me in confidence, but it was a huge compliment. He goes, "I just want to tell you that you found more in Agnes than I wrote." And he said, "You were the best Agnes of all." And I was like, "Oh my God." So I would say he was a love to me.
That's incredible.
A huge compliment.
And he protected me. So anyway.
I love to hear that. I feel like he is a difficult personality, but also a genius, and obviously just one of the most important people in theatrical history.
Yes, and Gypsy, it holds up whether you do it at a community theater or you do it, this was the first time that it was done. Merman had done it. This was the first revival. Since then, there have been many, but it always holds up. The book is wonderful, and the songs are, unbelievable. It always works.
Completely agree.
Okay, Denny, you were a regular cast member on season 6 of Saturday Night Live. This quote-unquote new class featured Eddie Murphy, Joe Piscopo, Gilbert Gottfried, Charles Rocket, Gail Mathias, and you. This 1980-81 season was notable because Lorne Michaels had just left, and along with the show's original cast, many of its writers, it was the first and only season run by producer Gene Dumanian. This season is sort of infamous. It's one of those seasons that's really piled on by comedy nerds. But what we really found interesting upon doing research was this interview where you said the legacy of Gene isn't really fair because to you, SNL is like a boys' club, and she found opportunities for women. She wasn't scared to give women opportunities. So can you expound on your experiences with Gene and how you felt like she combated that sort of boys' club mentality?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm always very grateful to Gene Dumanian for giving me this huge, huge break in my career. And I wasn't the first person in the world to say that SNL was a boys' club. It still remains a boys' club. She wanted to change that. So she gave me a lot of time on Saturday Night Live to do my original characters that I brought to the show, characters that they created for me. The same with Gail Mathias. She had a lot of wonderful characters that she brought to the show. We created characters together, and Gene was very, very open to showcasing us, and we were good. And so she was trying desperately to change that. She was also trying desperately because we came from following the first cast that everyone loved. And the reason it was so shocking and we had such a hard time is the cast had never changed. And people didn't want the original people to go. I didn't want the original people to go. The public wasn't ready for a new cast. And so we had big shoes to fill, and there was already a lot of seismic activity underneath it all about welcoming a new cast. I think as time has gone by, because there were years when NBC wouldn't even show our season, and that was it hurt a lot. They tried to pretend it didn't exist. I think maybe now you can find our season, but they found out that it really wasn't so awful as everyone thought.
Okay, Denny, some of your celebrity impersonations at the time included first daughter Amy Carter, Yoko Ono, Betsy Maxwell Cronkite, and convicted husband murderer Gene Harris. Did you ever hear from any of these women after you played them on TV?
No, I didn't. And do you really consider them impressions? Because, that's funny. Because as a comedian and an actress, with Amy Carter, no one, first of all, people didn't usually make fun of the children of the president, but I just did a spin. I thought, I don't know what she sounds like. So I was just going off into Tennessee Williams land,
Am I right on this? When we found the Yoko Ono sketch, was that sketch 3 weeks before John Lennon was murdered?
You are right. I believe, sadly, it was actually maybe even 1 week before he was murdered.
I looked at the date of it, and I thought, this is insane. I just wanted to double check
it wasn't. And I had never, we didn't have internet then, I don't think, in 80, 81. So, so they couldn't say, here's what she sounds like when she sings. They just kind of told me. So I just I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did. I did crazy things. And I forgot I did Cronkite. I wonder how I did her. Gene Harris, I just did kind of sad, ultimate sad. Yeah. Beaten down.
Denny, so in 1983, you returned to Broadway in the Gershwin musical, My One and Only, also starring Tommy Tune and Twiggy. You played Mickey and performed the breakout number Funny Face with Bruce McGill. You were Tony nominated for this role, and it was just a couple of years after your stint at SNL. Did it feel vindicating to return to the theater and then be nominated on top of all of that?
It was really very beautiful. It was a completely fabulous experience. We were out of town rehearsing one show. You know, it was 3 different shows before we opened on Broadway. And then it was this huge smash success. And yes, it did feel wonderful to be back on Broadway and to be back working. And the Tony nomination was, that was a huge surprise to me. The dancers kept telling me, "You're going to be nominated." And I don't know. And they were right. So, that was wonderful. And Sweet Betty Buckley won in Cats, but we commiserated, and she definitely deserved it. But it was really an honor to be nominated.
Did you feel like a pro, Denny, coming back to Broadway, or like was it intimidating to come into this big Broadway musical starring an icon like Tommy Tune? And
well, yes and no. They'd cast Tommy and they'd cast Twiggy, and it was like 6 months before we started going, but they cast me too. So knowing I was going to be in this Broadway show with Tommy and Twiggy it was magnificent, but I had to wait 6 months. They were trying to get the money up. But I remember Tommy told me he had seen me in another Broadway show I did called Harold and Maude, and let's just say it opened on Friday and closed on Sunday.
Yeah.
But Tommy said to me when I was cast, he goes, "You know, I saw you in that, and when you were on stage, it felt like a hit." So anyway,
that's a great compliment.
Yeah, and I had auditioned for Tommy for 9, and he also told me I wasn't quite in the German fit, and I wasn't quite in the Italian fit. So he was really happy that we were going to work together. And so I did kind of feel like a pro. They were rewriting the show. I don't know if you know, in Boston, Peter Stone, they fired the director, Peter Sellers, and Tommy Walsh took over, and they're rewriting the show, putting in new songs. So that was the classic musical out of town tryout, where we'd rehearse one show in the day and then be doing a completely different show in the evening. And so by the time we came to New York, we had done 3 separate versions, and we all took pay cuts so that we could open. And the producers said, if this works, they give us back all that money, and they did. And it was, I'm sorry, I probably sound like some old timer, but I guess I am an old timer. But it said Miracle on 44th Street. That was the review.
Did you happen to give Twiggy any tips before opening night, since this was her Broadway debut? Like, was she looking to the cast to sort of like help her get her footing?
That's a very funny question. I adored Twiggy. Everyone adored Twiggy. No, I didn't give her any tips. She was like complete magic. She didn't need any help.
Okay.
You know, when she sang, you melted. And there was such a joy. And I mean, I understand why she's complete original. I mean, she's iconic. I guess I've met a few icons in my life.
Okay, Denny, you made your film debut in Saturday Night Fever. Speaking of icons, you were sensually swiping the sweat from a dreamy John Travolta's brow. Can you tell us and our listeners how that gig came to be, and did you rehearse that beautiful, sensuous swipe with John?
Oh, that's so sweet of you to say all that. I had a wonderful acting teacher named Mary Tarsai. She coached me on that scene. And so all those adjectives that you were using were the ones that I was trying to transmit. I remember when she told me, when you put the handkerchief on his forehead, you see yourself walking with him, you know, married to him down, St. John the Divine. So actually, that came about. I had the audition. I had gone to Cleveland on a Christmas break, and I had to fly back to New York, and I auditioned with John for the original director, who is John Alvidson, and we improvised. We did the scene together, not standing, but in, you know, the Tony, can I wipe off your forehead, that whole thing. And then we kept improvising, which was good for me because I'm an improviser, and they were shooting it. And then I ended up getting the role, and I loved it so much. Doreen, she's the outsider, you know. John Avildsen was fired the day he got the Oscar for Rocky. What is it? And John Badham was the director, so we were all picked by John Avildsen, the cast, with the exception of Karen Lynn Gorney. Then we started rehearsal, and the rehearsals were, somebody just called me to interview me for London. They're doing some documentary on John, so that's why I remember a lot of this stuff. But the rehearsal, we had all of us. The whole cast was there. That's unusual. And we read the whole movie. And then, fortunately, John Badham put me in the line dance. And that was, you know, hearing the Bee Gees and doing that dance, I felt like I was in heaven.
Denny, you starred on the HBO series Dream On, which was part of the network's first wave of original programming. The show was created by Marta Kaufman and David Crane, who would later go on to create Friends, and followed the life of Martin, a divorced book editor in New York. You were Toby, Martin's assistant, and you won a Cable Ace Award for your performance. We now associate HBO with prestige television, but this was one of the first programs. Did it feel risky taking a job at a pay TV channel?
I'll tell you, the big difference for me is I had done a lot of network television before then, mostly guest spots. The beautiful thing, first of all, the script was completely brilliant, and Marta and David had just come from New York, and Kevin Bright was in LA, but he'd been in New York. So there was a sensibility that was very, very New York savvy about the script. It didn't seem like fake Hollywood when they make a New York set. The thing that was totally different was, you know, I had gotten used to, I remember doing a guest spot on a episodic television, and these guys in suits would come down on the stage, before you would do it. This is 3 camera, you know? Mm-hmm. And I remember them saying to the director, is she going to look like that when she says, is she going to look so mean? And then I would get direction from the director that was getting it from these guys, these corporate guys in suits. And it was like, what the? And I'd come from New York, where a director meant something. But sometimes on television, especially 3 camera, a director is just like a traffic cop. You know, who knows? Probably all these things I'm saying, I'll never work in Hollywood again. But anyways, who cares? So HBO was totally different. Kevin Bright, John Landis, Marta, David, it was collaborative. And HBO, they were never there. They gave us total creative freedom. And that's why I think that show was so good and so ahead of its time. And, you know, we were one of the first. Before that, there was, I don't know if you remembered, Tales of the Crypt, but
yes,
that was like an anthology series. And following us for a while came Gary Shandling, that show.
The Larry Sanders Show.
Exactly. That was wonderful. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we were part of the original programming.
What's so interesting and so cool is that iconic, what we think of as now iconic, static at the beginning of every HBO series actually comes from Dream On. So it sort of lives on in all of their programming. However,
somebody who was interviewing me told me that, and I didn't know that, but I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it sort of lives on. However, it's not available to stream anywhere. And even with the advent of HBO Max, where it seems like most of their catalog is curated, it's not there. Have you ever heard any mumblings of Dream On? I think because there's a lot of old movie clips in it. There's maybe it was tied up in rights. Do you know any of the ins and outs of?
You know, I've tried to figure out that for years, and Betty Thomas was one of the directors for the first couple years on a lot of series, and she and I have still pals, and we've discussed it. I don't know. At first, I thought maybe it had to do with the nudity, but I don't think so, because we did another version that would have less. And then I just didn't know. Universal owned all those clips, but I bet it's involved with the clips, but you can't see it anywhere. And it was on for 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
It's very disappointing because it was so good. And I know what you're saying, even on HBO On Demand, HBO Max, nothing.
So we talk about you getting in on the ground floor at HBO. You were also on the ground floor at Fox when you started as the corrections officer in the 1987 sitcom Women in Prison, opposite Wendy Jo Sperber, CCH Pounder, and Julia Campbell. Were there any similarities between early HBO on cable and early Fox on broadcast TV, or totally different?
I just remembered one of my favorite lines is Meg Bando, the prison guard. I said, Let me tell you a little bit about prison, dear. You're in one. Anyway, Fox came before HBO, but I know it's kind of cool that I was with two networks. Fox they were pretty cool, but it wasn't that level of ultimate creative freedom that HBO. Here's another thing, like with Dream On. I remember John Landis came to me and Brian, and like what was so beautiful about being on this new series was that it was collaborative. They said, we have the beginning, the theme music. You want to come in and listen and like give us, what you think? And we did. I mean, when are you ever asked to do that? Put in your 2 cents about the theme. One was very full orchestrated and the other was small. We ended up picking the one that went on. So there was definitely freedom, and it was exciting because it was a brand new network. There'd only been 3 networks, and now there was Fox.
You played Roseanne in the TV film Roseanne, an Unauthorized Biography. Let me tell you, I watched this entire movie recently. Impressions or impersonations were part of the gig at SNL, but were you scared to take on this real life person in more like serious fare, especially someone sort of notorious who was very vocal? Like, did you ever hear from her? Because let me tell you, I think you were very good. It was like, I was not actually so sure what to expect. And then I was like, oh, I mean, I wish that the material was, I think you said this in an interview, so maybe now I'm like adopting your opinion as mine, but you had said that the stand-up stuff was hard because they couldn't get her material. They couldn't get copywritten material. So they didn't have enough good comic stuff, and I felt that, but I thought you did a good job getting her, like whatever that means.
Well, thanks. Yeah, she was very, very big then. Very, very big. So that's the first time in my life that I had a job. I got a job, and my phone never stopped ringing, and we didn't have texts then and iPhones, but everybody was my friend, and everybody in the world knew what I was doing that day because it was in all the papers everywhere. And I never had a job like that, so that was pretty cool and a little overwhelming. As far as her, she said some horrible things about me, and that I saw in print in the New York Post. That midget don't look anything like me. I was like, oh my God.
So terrible.
Oh, please. And I was trying to get the essence of Roseanne. I listened to a lot of things. I was trying to get her voice and the essence. The rest, I was just trying to be truthful. But yes, she's a genius comedian, and her comedy at the time was completely flawless, and she was an original, so they can't use any of her comedy, so they wrote it, and that's the absolute hardest.
How did you master the Roseanne voice? Did you have to find it in your mask? Were you doing like serious actor work to get it?
Well, I am a pretty good mimic, and so I would just listen to, I taped some shows of hers, and like I remember, Darlene, sweetie. Anyways,
that's good.
Yeah,
you can edit this stuff out.
We might keep it.
Yeah.
But I'm a good mimic, so I would try to get that aspect of her.
Okay, Denny, one of your most recent credits is in the Netflix rom-com A New York Christmas Wedding, where you play a lesbian working at a Catholic church. You've also recently come out publicly in an interview for New York Mag's Vulture. We were so thrilled to learn that, we're not only in the presence of greatness while we're sitting here talking to you, but we're also in the presence of family. So can you talk a little bit about your public coming out and whether or not this role was a calculated move or if it just sort of happened?
It was so not calculated, I can't even begin to tell you. This sweet young man, Andy Hugland, who writes for Vulture and does a lot of independent writing, had somehow found me. I'm not on social media. So he ended up finding me through a niece, through Twitter, I don't know how. And he asked if he could interview me about my career, okay? So I said to him, and he loves Saturday Night Live, and I said, because I do always get a little suspicious, like, are we going to go into the 6th season, the 2nd season of Saturday Night Live and the cast and all that? Because I don't really want to go into dish stuff. And he said, oh, no, I'm interested in your whole career. Well, he's like a freak about Saturday Night Live. He knows everything in the world about Saturday Night Live. So near the end of the interview, I live in the Hudson Valley, and he said, "How did you find out about the Hudson Valley?" And I said, "Well, when I met my wife." And I just slipped out, and I was like, he goes, "Oh my God, you mean you're gay?" And I was like, yeah. And then he goes, "Did they know? Did they know? I mean, did Gail know? Did he know?" I said, "Well, this was like 1980. No, it's not like I was, hi, I'm gay." Did Gail, I mean, Gail, of course, we were good friends. So then I saw a Google alert that I'm the first gay person who was ever on Saturday Night Live, even though I didn't come out. I'm not the official gay person, but I was gay, and I was on Saturday Night Live. And oh my God, so now it's all historic. So to me, it's kind of funny. I mean, I've been gay a long time. I just,
Shortest SNL cast member of all time and first gay person, I believe, and also first gay woman. So a lot of publicly.
Right. Because I think previous to that, it was Denitra Vance. And God, wasn't she the
great Denitra Vance?
The best, yeah.
Oh, bless her heart. I saw her on Broadway. Not on Broadway. Was it Spunk she was in at the Public? She was phenomenal on stage as well.
Yeah, anyway. It's such a loss. I feel like I only know her really from like DVDs and reading about her, but it seems like she was sort of like a real star and like didn't get her due on SNL and then obviously passed way too young,
Yes, I had seen her on stage and I knew what a powerhouse she was. And then she definitely did not get her due on Saturday Night Live, which happens often when you're a woman.
Yep. Denny, now that the world knows that you're an out and proud lesbian, do you have any more plans to sort of play gay? Is there anything that you are like hatching, or have people pitched you lesbians to play?
Oh, I would love to. Just like bring on the scripts. No, I would love to.
We need to get you on the L Word Generation Q once production's up and running. They need you on there.
That would be great.
Wait, Denny, did you watch the L Word? Did you watch it?
I watched the L Word, yes, and I watched the L Word Q.
This is incredible news.
Have you ever seen? I'm a big fan of Glenn Close, and I just saw something of a timeline of her career. Did you ever see Serving in Silence?
Yes, of course. Opposite the great Judy Davis.
Right.
I love Glenn Close. She's at the top of our list, Denny. So you're speaking our language.
Yeah, we love her.
Yes. Yeah.
Look, the L Word was not great, but it was also great. It's like hard when there's very few. There's like no lesbian content on TV, so I'll take what I can get.
Yes. Well, I lived in Hollywood for about almost 9 years. So, it's a little different scene than East Coast lesbians,
Mm-hmm.
But a lot pretty. but
you're saying vapid, pretty but vapid.
Well, there's a lot of experimentation of like young moms with children who want to be gay for the night.
Oh, yes. Okay.
That was, I'd been in a long-term relationship and then we'd broken off, and I was in LA at the time and looking to date, and boy, was that confusing. And I mean, people going, and then I'm sorry, I really like you, but I'm emotionally unavailable. And then I said, am I just not your type? Is that what do you mean? I ended up writing something about, and I was doing comedy, stand-up then. So like, when you go near those cars and they beep, that you are standing too close, or that they go please get away from this car. I'm emotionally unavailable. Anyway, stuff like that. It was very confusing.
Yeah.
Okay, Denny, we are entering the part of our show that is rapid fire. This is rapid fire for Anne and me because we're just throwing a lot of things at you. You can take your time if you need to. You don't need to feel rushed. Theoretically, this is the end of the interview. We're wrapping up. Okay. Denny, you beat the shit out of Mark Mencha's character Jack on the HBO miniseries The Outsider. It is a totally badass scene. Your body is thrown across the room. It is shocking and amazing. You are so good in it. Did you do your own stunts?
That was a brilliant stunt woman from Los Angeles.
It is
You were great
wild.
at it. You were so good.
She does stunts, she told me, for Melissa McCarthy. Wasn't it astonishing?
I actually told Anne to watch it on Zoom this morning because I had watched the scene, and I said, Anne, watch this. And then I videotaped watching Anne on Zoom watch it because she was watching and she was like, oh yeah, Denny's good in this.
Oh my God. Yeah. I did do some of the beating, the close-up beating.
I know you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't fly across the room. So far, I don't have that skill. They had wires and stuff, but I really liked me in it. I love.
Yeah, you were great on it. It was very cool. It was very cool.
Okay, Denny. So SNL's early years were known for the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. On a scale of 1 to 10, what was the party level like during your era?
I would say like 4.
Really?
Because one of the things Jean Domanian was wanting to take away the drugs. And in fact, one of the critics who didn't like us said we should have been on drugs.
Terrible.
Yes, terrible.
Okay, Denny, Anne and I have a bit about our height disparity. I am 5'5" on a good day, and Anne is 5'11". Denny, you are 4'11", and you're my one and only co-star, Tommy Tune, is 6'6". Did y'all take a lot of pictures together at the time because you were like, look how small and tall we are?
Well, there was a wonderful stuff. You know, the tall and small stuff has been around since the beginning of comedy.
Yeah.
Tommy and I would walk across the stage together, saying nothing, and it would get a laugh. And then there was a period, because I was his plane mechanic, where I climbed up a ladder to put a propeller on the plane, and he was behind me, and he was still taller. That got a laugh.
That's funny.
So yeah.
You star in the 1984 Sidney Lumet movie Garbo Talks with a cast that included the great Anne Bancroft, Hermione Gingold, Dorothy Loudon, and Carrie Fisher. Your character is described as the female Joe Papp. Did you meet with this iconic producer-director to prepare?
How was I Joe Papp?
They described the character as a female Joe Papp, so I was wondering if you used him as inspiration.
No, but I love working with Sidney Lumet. You know, he was famous for doing things like so fast, but he gave me a direction. He said, I want you to go walk across the room and get that cup of coffee. You are dying for that cup of coffee. You haven't had coffee all day. That's all you want. And to just keep on moving. And I did. And it was a great direction. We did 1 take, then 2 take, the safety take. So no, I was never thinking of Joe Papp.
Just the coffee. That's the professional.
Just coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, Denny, one of your most famous characters on SNL was Pinky Waxman, and there's a sketch where you visit your niece in Soho, who is played by the host Debbie Harry, and the joke is that you don't realize she is clearly a lesbian living with her girlfriend, played by Gail Mathias. Was there any sort of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge on set since you were gay and Gail knew you were gay?
Oh, yeah. And I think Debbie knew I was gay. I mean, we became friends and stuff. But the Pinky Waxman character was one I brought to Saturday Night Live. And I thought that was a great episode. I loved that. And it was 1980, so we were kind of opening up the whole gay world. Yeah. Actually, I think that was 81 because it was in the new year. But Debbie's a good actress.
She is.
Yeah. She was one of the first guests that I remember being a music guest and in all the sketches.
Mm-hmm.
Denny, you were a cast member of the stage adaptation of Harold and Maude that closed on Broadway after only 4 performances. So 2 questions. What did you do closing night? And can you confirm if that poster is on the flop wall at the famous Theater District restaurant Joe Allen?
You know, I don't know if we're in the flop fall wall, but I wish we were. I don't remember any party. I remember there was a case of, maybe it was champagne or white wine at the bottom of the steps that brought you up to the dressing room. And there was a sign that says, Janet says, take 1. But she was new to Broadway, so I don't think she necessarily knew what you did. I mean, on opening night, the hairdresser came. I said, how's Janet? And he goes, oh, she's fine. She just had her dinner. I was like, what?
Right before she went on?
Yeah.
Terrible.
I was like, oh, my God.
This is old Hollywood movie star Janet Gaynor making her Broadway debut like at what, 80 or something?
Yeah, 89. Oh, my God. God.
Okay, let's just go right into this.
She was very relaxed about it. I mean, I'm a wreck. I usually throw up like about 5 times.
Okay, with that in mind, let's go right into this question. You've worked on Broadway with a lot of icons. Elizabeth Ashley, Janet Gaynor, of course, Alfred Drake, Tommy Tune, Angela Lansbury. Which of those stars was most generous and who was most demanding?
Well, I love working with Angela. I love working with Elizabeth. And we became pals for quite a long time. And I adored Tommy and Twiggy. and is still in touch. The only one who wasn't very friendly and nice, and I think he didn't like my kind of tomboy-esque persona, was Mr. Alfred Drake.
Oh, man. He was just too old school.
Kinda. He thought, I think he thought the girls should be wearing dresses. And I mean, he had lifts in his shoes.
Oh.
That is a great reveal. I love it.
And I was very tight with Elizabeth. And anyways, may they rest in peace.
Well, and Elizabeth is a broad. She seems like she could be cool and down.
Oh, Elizabeth is great fun, wildly funny and brilliantly smart, and she's a lot of laughs. She's always entertaining, and she's still working. Wasn't she just on Russian Doll?
She was so good in Russian Doll. It
Yeah.
was so pleasing to see her there. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same.
Okay, Denny, you originated the role of the detective in the off-Broadway musical adaptation of Clue, inspired by the board game. I'm telling you, I screamed when I discovered this because I have Clue is my favorite movie based on my love of the board game. I've always wanted to see the musical. I knew it had happened and existed, but I've never seen a production of it. You originated the detective. This is cool. Fuck, marry, kill. Mrs. Peacock, Colonel Mustard, or Miss Scarlet. And then also, if you have any stories about Clue you want to share.
I'm amazed at the research you've done. I love playing a detective. Clue, my best friend came to see it and said, I think it's possibly the worst thing I've ever seen ever. And I don't know if you guys know about Moose Murders.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is
The
supposed
notorious
to,
flop, yes.
Yeah, the biggest Broadway flop. We were off Broadway at the Players Theater. And first of all, I was supposedly the star of it because I had some credits at the time. The other people were actors in Chicago who had done it, and the guys who had put this together to be done in New York. I think they wanted to say that it had already been done in New York and make a lot of money. Oh, it was so ghastly. But I didn't enter until 45 minutes into the show.
Oh, so you had time to eat dinner like your old friend Janet.
Oh, yeah. So I could have actually, I threw up. I came down and I realized I was so nervous, but I had so much time to throw up. So I ran upstairs, threw up, then came back downstairs and waited. Oh, my God. It was so awful. I don't even put it on my resume.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I can't believe you brought it up. No, that's okay. It was terrible.
Do you have fondness for that game or that movie or not really?
Oh, I love the game. And the movie was great. But this play just didn't happen.
Okay.
It did not happen. And they had songs, too, that also didn't happen.
Okay. Denny, you guested on Designing Women, Night Court, Law & Order, Miami Vice, and Fame. Which of those sets had the best craft services?
I love craft service, but Designing Women was the most fun that you mentioned. But all the women were watching their weight. So I remember specifically they only had Trident gum.
Stop it. Oh my God. That's terrible.
Stop it. I remember on HBO Dream there'd be pies and Cheetos and potato chips. I mean, unbelievable.
Wow.
Okay, Denny, we're wrapping up. And it was just very important to us since we, learned that you were a lesbian. We feel like we're connected to you. And we just need you to indulge us by naming your top 5 lesbians of all time.
Well, I think I would probably start with Greta Garbo.
Beautiful.
And then I guess I love the author Colette. I've read.
Okay, yes.
I used to steal Colette books off of my mom's shelf because I knew somehow those were like the things that I would take down to read at night.
Name a few, because
Okay.
I'm trying to think, when I came out, people would say, oh, Garbo was. I think I always heard that Dietrich, no, not.
Oh, yeah, Marlena
Yeah,
Dietrich,
Dietrich.
that she was lesbian or bisexual, yeah.
And also Claudette Colbert.
Oh, I love
I didn't
that.
know this.
I was in love with her.
I love her Bob.
I loved her Bob, yes.
Okay, how about like Mary Oliver, Audre Lorde, Lily Tomlin?
Nell Carter.
Lily Tomlin's a pal, so yes, I know her, and I know Jane, and I adore both of them.
Jodie Foster, Denitra Vance, of course, Kate McKinnon, Niecy Nash,
Jane Lynch.
Gertrude Stein. None of these people, Rosie O'Donnell, none of these people are making the list. I like it.
Melissa Etheridge.
No, Is Gillian Anderson gay? I always
Oh
think
my
She's
God, I
bisexual.
wish.
I think it's like an I wish department. Is Judy Davis gay?
Oh my God. Okay, so you are literally, Denny, you are in my mind. You're in my
I'm on
mind.
your page. I'm on your page.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, both of them for me, very important gay forces in my life. I did not expect you to name either of those two. And unfortunately, I think it's a no. I think Gillian is bi. I think Judy is unfortunately very straight.
I think all I can say is I'm powerless over beautiful women, and my life has become unmanageable. I'll just conclude it at that.
Well, Denny Dillon, I can't even tell you what a thrill this was. Thank you for joining us on You Might Know Her From. This was a total pleasure.
Oh, it was. I can't. Bravo for all your research. It's really. I feel totally naked.
Holy cow. I will never be over Janet Gaynor filling her belly up before she made her Broadway debut for a measly 4 shows. Ate like a T-bone steak and then like walked on stage.
Waddled on stage.
In a food coma.
I loved that we got old Hollywood gossip. Also, that Alfred Drake, original star of Kiss Me Kate, wore lifts in his shoes. This is the kind of stuff we are looking for on You Might Know Her From. And Denny was delivering the goods. That isn't even discussing the fact that she watched fucking Generation Q and is obsessed with Glenn Close, Judy Davis, and Gillian Anderson. Like, are you living inside my skin? I almost lost it at the end of the interview. I was like, oh, I could do another 2 hours. Let's do this.
I meant to tell you this before, but it's like, they announced, I think this week, that Rosie O'Donnell is going to be on the L Word Generation Q. And it's like, okay, that was like our mission forever. It was to get Rosie on the L Word, and now she is. And that's like, now I'm committed to Denny Dillon.
Completely. We have to make it happen. Who knew she was a fan of the show? Come on. Oh, my God.
Oh, man, I can't. It was just too good. We hope that you liked that as much as we did, and we'll just share that shit away with all of the comedy nerds and musical theater nerds and the lesbians that you know.
Damien.
Hey, baby.
So we're not going to be back with an official actress interview in December, but we are back in January, and we are going to connect Denny Dillon to January's first guest.
Okay.
Hit me with that knowledge.
Okay.
I know you found it.
Yeah. So Denny Dillon, one of her, most famous credits is the HBO show Dream On, and January's guest had an episode of Dream On that had Denny's character Toby's name in the title. Should I tell the title?
Yeah.
Okay, so like if you're really hot to trot, the title is called Toby or Not Toby.
I think this is the first time we've had 2 guests that were in things together. The problem with Dream On is you can't find the episodes anywhere, unfortunately. But
yeah, sadly.
January's guest is a landmark for us. It was a huge deal, and we are so excited because she also is adding to our canon of previous guests.
Oh, yeah, baby.
This is an added clue. I'm giving an added clue.
Mm-hmm.
She is also deeply, deeply connected through one of her biggest credits to a previous guest.
From the beginning.
Season 1 guest, baby. Season 1 guest.
Folks, we hope you like what we are putting down. Please make sure to follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Damian Bellino. And you can find my tall pal over here, Rodeman, at Rodeman, RODEMANNE.
You Might Know Her From is produced by Ann Rodeman and Damian Bellino. That's us, these 2 idiots, 5'11" and 5'5", right in front of your ear bowls. Ear bowls? Ear bowls.
We want to shout out our consultants at Grumpy Entertainment, Jason Jude Hill. I'm going to guess 5'11", and Daniel Sears, I'm going to guess...
I think Jason is 6 foot. I think Jason is 6 foot, and I think Daniel is 5'11".
Yeah, that's right. You're right. So special
I'm
thanks
very
to
good at
Jason
heights.
Jude Hill and Daniel Sears. All that editing you hear by the wonderful 5'11" Daniel Sears.
And of course, thank you to Gang, the band who creates all the great music that you hear in these episodes. You can find them on iTunes and wherever you listen to music. Can I tell you, my friend, I haven't watched The Prom yet, but can I tell you, like, one of my oldest friend in the whole world, Sarah Parks, sent me a text message and she said, Meryl Streep's voice has really improved. I did not respond. I refuse to respond. Sarah Parks, Meryl Streep has a head voice. It's a totally respectable head voice, but I haven't watched The Prom yet, but I don't think it's improved.
I have an opinion, Sarah. You can text me.